Well, great. The internet as we know it is at risk again. Aren't you excited? So, you know how on the left we usually point out that Democrats need to do just a little bit better to earn our vote, and that you should specifically take anybody who's not really that far left from the Dem Party and just kind of primary them away? It's one of the reasons why I've advocated for the DSA the way I have on my channel. Well, there's something that they are doing alongside right-wingers in Congress that we gotta talk about. I don't mean to alarm you, but there's currently a bipartisan effort to abolish the internet that you and I love and replace it with something that is, well, let's go ahead and say billionaire controlled with a lot more mass surveillance and advertising and all kinds of shit. You know how Discord had its whole reputation tarnished instantly when they tried to add age verification? And you know how if you're in Georgia, like me, you don't have access to things like Pornhub because everything needs to have some kind of fucking surveillance on it now, and everything needs some kind of age verification that doesn't actually keep anybody safe? So imagine if instead of a handful of companies doing that and inconveniencing you, it was the entirety of the internet as you understand it. Now, make no mistake about what this is. This is an attempt to engage in information control, which, those of you who are friends of Telltale probably understand that that is something that you do in a fucking cult, and America's kinda sliding into that kind of mentality, and why not just go ahead and extend that to the entire internet where nobody can look up information for themselves anymore? So what is actually causing this? For that, dear viewer, we need to talk about Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which I know we gotta talk about law shit, and that's really boring, and none of you want to listen to that at all. You want to watch me yell about conservatives on the internet, or maybe you want to be on my Magic the Gathering channel watching me play games and shit on Twitch. I don't know what you're planning on doing, but this is important enough that I'm gonna yap about it for a little bit. Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act provides federal immunity to online platforms. This essentially means that they cannot be held liable for content made by any user on that platform, so long as it doesn't violate federal law. This means that under the current system, I can voice my disagreement with the President of the United States, and he can't really do jack shit about it. He can't say that, that Suris guy's doing bad shit, get him off your platform. That's not a thing he really can do with any weight behind him. But if you remove Section 230, suddenly the government can have control over that. And when the government has the ability to control all of that, then it also means that all of their investors, lobbyists, and Elon Musk that are behind them, you know, the oligarchs that are actually keeping control of our government from behind the scenes, those people have control over all that. Instead of the internet being an open forum where you and I can come on and do our thing, it becomes something that's a lot more curated, let's say. Now, why does it exist? Well, if you look at this bit from Cornell Law School, Congress found that the rapidly developing array of internet and interactive computer services meant that we needed to have some kind of law to regulate this in some form or fashion. Section 30 is here to basically protect our ability to have a diversity of political discourse. As much as I would like to live in a world where there are not people on the other side of the political aisle advocating for the stripping of human rights, I do recognize that the internet as a resource to be a forum where these conversations can happen, it needs to allow those conversations to exist in the first place. Section 230 specifically says that no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. Now, in short, that means that YouTube is not viable. They are not held accountable as an entity if I say something on there that, again, somebody like Donald Trump doesn't agree with. YouTube doesn't have to be held accountable for that specifically. And it is because of that that I am free to say my piece on this platform. Now, originally this was part of a Republican moral panic during Trump's first term, but now there are plenty of Democrats who are also jumping on the bandwagon of trying to censor the internet in order to protect all of us from us. Now, this part's going to be an editor's note for KFox, but please put up the pictures of these representatives here. Dick Durbin, Frank Pallone, Doris Matsui, Ro Khanna, and Amy Klobuchar, among others, are now in favor of repealing Section 230. Meanwhile, if you go to the Center for Countering Digital Hate, they make the argument that, well, times have changed, but our laws have not. Section 230 remains in place, and it is a shield protecting some of the richest companies from responsibility for victims of their products. What made sense 3 decades ago simply does not make sense today. And man, there are points to this argument, there are aspects to this argument that I want to agree with, but the reality is getting rid of the provision that literally allows content creators to speak their mind on the internet feels like maybe that's not the way to handle any of those needs to rapidly evolve our laws with the internet. And yeah, I understand where some of you may be coming from in that we need to make sure that YouTube can't just provide a pipeline for radicalizing people into Nick Fuentesites. We also can't cut off our nose despite our face in so doing. So what are some examples of what the entire internet might look like if we started to lose, Section 230 protections? Well, just think about what happened with Discord. In March, Discord planned to set all users as teen by default, which meant that if you were on Discord, it would put you into its most restrictive settings, its most restrictive versions, until you gave it a whole bunch of your information that it promised you they would not use for any bad things whatsoever, and then a data leak happened, and it's almost like we shouldn't be trusting big companies with a bunch of our info in the first place. They wanted you to let Palantir have an AI scan your face, give it to Palantir, something the US government's been using to try to spy on its citizens for quite a while now. Now, Discord may have partially backed down, but that was because of pushback from people like you, me, and everybody else that decided to do things like cancel Discord Nitro subscriptions and basically hit them where it hurts. Now granted, for Discord, they may have only partially backed down, delaying this integration of all of their shitty services and ways to spy on us until probably next year. But what happened with Discord is effectively a microcosm of what would happen with the entirety of the internet if we did not have Section 230. Because if YouTube feels like it's going to be culpable for every single video that is on its platform, it's going to start adding a lot more scrutiny to everything on its platform. Twitch basically disappears overnight because for every single Hassan or Vosh, there is also an Asmongold. Now, during Trump's first presidency, he tried to curtail left-wing so-called bias in the media that he thought was, destroying his ability to run his presidency any way he wanted. It's almost like us being able to have our opinions on the internet means we can do things like scrutinize the federal government, and that's a good thing. But even though both sides of the political aisle that have power are trying to form some bipartisan inroads with one another to give us more surveillance and try to revoke protections that we currently enjoy on the internet, that doesn't mean that basic people on the ground like you or I are having that same conversation. We're not sitting here going, yes, Daddy YouTube, please make me more safe. No, in fact, most of us who have been on the internet for a long time remember the internet before it was such a heavily scrutinized, surveilled, and policed area. If you don't like the direction the internet has been going over the last few years, removing Section 230 just accelerates us in that direction. Like, let's say you're on Facebook or Instagram and you make a post that is considered very, very bad in the eyes of somebody who has a lot of money. Right now, they have to go after you for something, libel, damages, whatever they may deem. But if you get rid of Section 230, now suddenly they're going after Instagram. And while that may seem like that's a good thing for you, for YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, to be the place that actually gets these attacks, if they start getting hundreds upon thousands of lawsuits aimed at them because some random dipshit used their platform to say some random dipshit thing, now suddenly everybody collectively is going to have a much higher level of enforcement on what we are allowed to say on these platforms. And as a note, Section 230 does not mean that the internet is just a giant place where anything goes. It still requires providers to remove material that violates federal criminal law, IP law, human trafficking laws. Protections are still in place. It's not the Wild West or Big Brother. There is a middle ground. Now, if you want to blindly trust federal agents and third-party capitalists with your ID and all of your information all the time, then sure, go right ahead. I can't stop you, but I know that that's not something that I want to do. Yeah, post-Patriot Act, we have a lot of surveillance in the country. Why would you want more? And we've already seen these steps taken in Congress before, with CASA, the Kids Online Safety Act. Now, in short, CASA claims to just force social media to do age verification checks, but let's go ahead and talk about something that was really interesting with CASA specifically. It specified to the FCC and the FTC that they have to do a study to determine what the best method for age verification would be after the bill passed. The bill passed without having any information about how to actually accomplish anything it wanted to do. I don't know how to explain to you in uncertain terms how stupid that is. Oh yeah, let's just pass the bill right now. The details are details. We'll work them out later. I don't think that's too terrible of an idea. Oh yeah, totally. Going in guns blazes on legislation without understanding anything about how to implement it or what it's actually going to do definitely sounds like the adult decision in the room. Now, regardless of what those studies end up saying in the end result's going to look kind of like social media tech giants collecting even more data on you than they already have, so they can do things like guess your age with an algorithm or just take your ID card. You know, just take all that information from you. Don't worry, it's perfectly fine. They can be trusted with all of it. None of them have ever had a data leak or a breach or any kind whatsoever, and none of them have ever tried to sell your data ever once in the history of ever. Except for all those times they got sued for it. ICE is already attacking your real-world freedoms right now. Why would you want the government attacking your digital freedoms? If you really want the internet to operate as a town square where all of us get to sit down and have conversations with one another to come to conclusions and diversify our opinions, well, real town squares don't require you to put your ID in every time you decide to fucking speak. And I've made mention that this is mass surveillance already because, you know, post-Patriot Act, we're going to have a lot of that, but this basically means it's way easier for companies to privatize mass surveillance and start selling our data way more than they already do. Again, if things are already bad, why would you pass a bill that just makes everything worse? What is the logic there? Oh, and just so you have an idea of how many fingers are in how many pies right now, Persona, the Peter Thiel-backed age verification firm that was dropped by Discord due to all this controversy, is still used by Reddit, Twitch, Patreon, and all kinds of other places. And when Persona was hacked, it revealed that private age verification data was going straight to the Department of Homeland Security and ICE. Again, if you are somebody on the internet who likes having freedom, why would you want every single aspect of your life to be scrutinized, surveilled, and kept under close watch by people who you do not know and you should not trust? So what do we do about all this? Because, like, this is rather dystopian, this is rather depressing. How can we actually handle this particular situation? Well, there are a lot of organizations that are coming up with plans to try to fight this right now, but I'm working with one at the moment. Progressive Victory is currently doing a 24/7 Call Your Congressman campaign targeting key politicians that can try to keep the bulwark up against this bullshit. Now, it's not that every individual call will be heard by politicians, but when the volume's that high, it's very hard to ignore that your constituents want to talk to you about fucking something. If you go to www.progress.win/phonebank, well, Progressive Victory is making calls to senators and representatives constantly to pressure them to oppose the repeal of Section 230 and oppose CASA passing with blinding colors. We basically only have this chance now to stop it, because if we don't, CASA already passed the Senate. We need to make sure it doesn't go any fucking further. Like, once this happens, that's it. The internet, as we understand it, is lights out. And make no mistake, every single time something like this is trying to be shoved down our throats, people will always use, oh, think of the kids, oh, we gotta stop terrorism, we gotta do all that stuff. It's always going to be those things, and it has been since the Patriot Act happened. Anytime your rights are being taken away, children are going to always be used as one of the scapegoats to try to argue for that. Hell, Project 2025 is trying to take trans people off the streets, and they're trying to do it by arguing that their mere existence is pornography. It's literally a look at the children, you should worry about them argument. Look, I'm not trying to argue the internet is perfect as it currently sits, but I am trying to argue that there are ways we could make it infinitely worse, and there are ways that we can stop it from becoming infinitely worse. And right now, flooding the airwaves, letting everybody you know that the internet is currently up for grabs, well, that would be a very good thing. And when you have time to let people know that they should be spamming their congressman, well, Progressive Victory has a phone banking campaign specifically to do just that. The Senate already decided that we need to lose our rights to privacy on the internet. Let's go ahead and make sure that that doesn't go any further. And when you're done doing that, we can have conversations about primarying politicians who do not speak for us and do not represent us very well, but that's a different video and a different conversation entirely. That said, thank you for watching, and if you decide to get involved in the campaign, let me know in the comment section below, and you know what? Thank you for checking out a video that was something other than me responding to somebody being an absolute nutcase on the internet. I can't run this channel without all of you, and if Section 230 gets taken away, I might not have my channel without your help. Period. So, help? Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitt, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.